Hello, everybody, and welcome back to That Milan podcast. Martino Puccio, Matt Santangelo, and a very special, highly requested guest from months on end. Hajjball is finally here. My friend, how are you? This was very difficult, by the way, everybody, to get this set up. So please bear with us with everything. But Haj, we're very, very happy to have you on. So great to speak
Nah,
finally.
we live. Yeah, it's had a bit of a shocker in the beginning. If the quality is bad, there's nobody to blame besides myself. But bro, like I said beforehand, this is not the first or the last. This is I don't know, in a polite way, this is like a future marriage. We're gonna keep collaborating, but nah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and it's gonna be good. I know for a fact it's going to be good.
Absolutely. So, for all those people out there that may not have followed you, you're one of those channels, and you'll know this. YouTube does this thing where whoever comments, or if it's a subscriber that comments on your channel, if you see their profile, it'll always show like other channels that they subscribe to, and a
Mm.
large majority of the time, it's other Milan channels and yourself. Sharma's mixed in there, Gigi's Juve, like other content creators, but you yourself are a little different. I don't want to spoil it because it was just in a recent video of the club that you support and how you got into Serie A and all that kind of stuff. So people should go and check out that video. But what made you get started with the content creation? And in particular, you are predominantly posting a lot of content regarding Milan and Juve. So what really made you get into the content side of things?
I think with me, like everybody else, the day I accepted I couldn't become a professional footballer, I was like, no problem. Like, take you on the chin, but I'm not doing a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. There is no way in hell. Like, you hit a pension at the age of 65 in the UK. I was like, I don't know if I've got it in me, the patience to just keep doing it. When it came to football content, I always just loved speaking about football, like breaking things down. Like, I was that guy. I'll be stood with you in the car park at 6 a.m. just going at it. He's better than him. This team is crap. This team is this. And then I think it was COVID time, to be fair. Like, a lot of people around me were like, listen, everybody's working from home, everybody's got free time. Why don't you just go into it? And to be fair, like I always say this, like I would never ever hide it. When I first started off making content, like about 4 years ago, it's coming up to 5 years. My first 2 years, I worked on Twitch. So I was like a Twitch partner,
Okay. Yeah.
and I mainly like had a contract with them where I covered like Premier League, La Liga, the odd Serie A here and there. But I know I mentioned it in another video. Like, I was always born and raised in a Serie A household. Like, my dad is.
Yeah.
If my dad ever finds out I called him a diehard Milan fan, he might beat the shit out of me because he'll be like, "No, I'm more than that. Like, I'm higher than that." So, being born and raised in a Milan household, and then also like my uncle was always around. He was a Juve fan, so it's like I always tell them, like, I'm born and raised in the UK. The Premier League is on every alleyway, but Serie A for me was always like the family league. Like, it's like on the weekends, you're not catching Liverpool, Arsenal on the TV, bro. You're catching Sampdoria against Cagliari. And I'm thinking, what's going on over here? So it was part of me since I was a kid. And it's like, as I got older, it just maintained. It just maintained. And also, like, constant trips to Italy to watch Milan, to watch Juve. And it's like, when it came to content, I was like, you know what? I always say this, and it's like a tip and a hint for anybody that wants to get into content. Don't do what people might do because it's easy to get numbers. Just do what you're most passionate about, because passion will always result in consistency, and with consistency comes growth. And with me, after my 2 years on Twitch, I was like, you know what, lads, it's been great. Like, don't get me wrong, met some lovely people, enjoyed it. But yeah, you want me to be sat talking about Brentford, Tottenham? That's just not me, bro. Like, I need to do something else. So remember, like, my dad actually had a massive influence on me, and he was like, listen, just go do Serie A. Go do Serie A. Go speak about Milan the way you speak about Milan with me, and we're constantly in debates. Like, he's a massive Leao hater. Let's just put it out there. And I'm like a massive Leao fanboy. So we're always going at it. And then also with my uncle, like, Juve. And I was like, you know what? English spoken Serie A content.
Yeah.
Let's dive into it and see how it goes. And I'll be honest, I've loved every single second of it, every single minute of it. Like, just I look forward to the weekend because I'm like, let's go. Like, whether teams win, lose, or draw, like, there's passion there, but I just enjoy it far more.
I think there's like the passion and stuff comes through your father, right? Like everyone has their story of like, oh, I supported this team or this club or this league because of, you know, this person when I was younger. So it's like, I think it'd be great for you. And I mean, I haven't checked too much about a lot of the content you've done. Obviously, you know, Martino's always been like, Hajj coming. Like, all right, like I'll be there, you know, I always carve out the time. But doing content with like your father, uncle, I feel like would be awesome. And like something that like the community would really love. Obviously, like, you know, they probably want to keep it, you know, they don't want to be in social media, they don't want to be on the camera and stuff, and I get all that, but yeah, like those types of stories I think are unique, and I think that's what kind of brings the passion out in the content. That's what keeps you hungry, keeps you creating. You know, you talked about all the editing, you know, struggles and things you deal with. I'm the same way, but I'm like, the end result, I'm always after the end result, and I love the process to get there. So it's great to see, you know, everyone starting to really cover Serie A, and not just, you know, Italians, not just people in America, just all over to help elevate the product, because it is a really good product.
No, spot on. Like you'd actually be surprised that like my dad and my uncle, these dudes are Arabs. They love the spotlight. If I bring downstairs the camera, they've all got a massive smile on their face. And the crazy thing is, like I mentioned it in a video before, my dad and my uncle, funnily enough, like after leaving the Middle East, they lived in Italy for about 10 years. So it's like, it would just work for me because they know Italian. And like, that's how they got into the Serie. So it's like, it would work wonders on YouTube, but it's just like, let's just say if it became an Italian podcast, I wouldn't have a Scooby what's going on. I'll be honest. Like, I don't know any Italian, but that's just like me, like my whole history. So it's like how my parents, or my dad and my uncle got into the Serie, and then it's like they came to the UK, and it's just, it rubbed onto me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it reflects in the videos because I mean, it's just great analysis work too, because we always like you guys know how it works with English content when it comes to Italian Serie A football, right? It is saturated in certain areas, but there is a lot that is not turned over in terms of like, you know, like Stone's, like what you do in terms of tactics and content. Sharma is one of the only other people that I kind of know that really deep dives into that kind of aspect of it. We kind of, on occasion we can, but you know how copyright strikes are. Like it's like pulling teeth to go and get like a screenshot of anything without getting a strike. Like the one time I think I had the Nkunku celebration. Whenever he had that brace recently, I took like a 2-second clip from his celebration, and we got our first copyright strike on the YouTube channel. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is exactly why I don't even bother with it. But like your new intro was absolutely fire on the latest video, by the way, and I know you got a lot of love for that. So it's really good if people go and check that out. The thumbnail was great. But it's just always so well to kind of see that kind of stuff too, because to your point, and we'll kind of get into Milan's play so far this season, yes, there is a lot of cortomuso, there is a lot of 1-0 wins, but all these 1-0 wins are not the same, or these 1-goal wins. And for instance, this most recent performance on Sunday against Lecce was indicative of that. Plenty of chance creation. The XG was there. The finishing was not, like usual. Like the past, realistically, we know it's the past 15 years. It's not a recent 5-year thing. But that's kind of been the thing with Milan. I think that when they play great, they're just as good as any team in the league. But some of their performances are just severely lacking at times. And when you see, you know, the Parmas, the Cremonese games, the Pisa games, you're like, this squad isn't quite there yet to win the trophy. And the only reason that, to me, that they're kind of in this conversation is because they play once a week. And they're very fortunate in a way to be in that spot, because the finish 8th last year was terrible. The overall play for you this year, and I know people can go and watch your videos and all that kind of stuff to get a better gauge, but just overall, are you satisfied with everything? It's a plus 15 point turnaround as opposed to this time last year. So obviously they are playing better, but you think it's that sort of sustainable play from here on out?
I think I'm happy you mentioned the word like sustainable, because it's like I said it in my last video where I was like, when it comes to Allegri, whether you love him, hate him, you can only really tolerate it as long as you win. Because I've watched games this season where I'm like, holy shit, Allegri, you are annoying the life out of me, bro. Because it's like You can do more. You've got more on the bench. Like, why am I seeing player A start week in, week out, and he offers nothing? Player B play week in, week out, and offer nothing. Yet there's somebody on the bench which is probably more hungry, more eager. He can offer something. I think, like the game on the weekend against Lecce, and like I even mentioned it, where I was like, all right, sweet, it's 1-0. But let's be real, on another day, it could have been 3. Like, in my opinion, Gabbia could have had a hat-trick of headers in the first half.
Yeah.
Could have had a hat-trick of headers. Liao set up Pulisic for a 1v1. Loftus-Cheek scuffed his lines. And Kunku came off the bench, had 2 more opportunities. So from the top, that's about 6 clear opportunities, which I'm pretty certain if this game was to happen tonight, maybe 2 of them score, the game ends 3-0. And that's why, like, I always bang on about, just don't follow what like SofaScore or like any of those apps tell you, where it's like it's 1-0. No, watch the game. And I think they played well. Like I even mentioned it. I was like, I think they played well. Like, bearing in mind, in the past 2 weeks, I saw Inter play Lecce. And bro, like, don't get me wrong, Inter created opportunities, but it's like Lecce are a very tough cookie to crack. Juve drew 1-1, albeit Cambiaso, albeit Jonathan David, but it's like Lecce are very tough to crack. And it's just the kryptonite of this season is when the so-called smaller teams come to town, Milan can't get themselves up for it. And I was actually worried because I was like, Como physically drained you guys. Like, let's be honest, the brand of football that Como play, they will automatically drain you. And I was thinking, 3 days later, the lights, like San Siro, everybody's watching you. But I'll be honest, like, see, when they came out in the second half, I was like, I don't know if you guys have just been sipping the energy drinks at half time, but you guys have come out full of energy, like Salamakers. I've been banging on about Salamakers being knackered and he needs a rest. Salamakers genuinely looked amazing. Like, he was just running full pelt. So I think with Allegri, like, just my final point, because I feel like I've talked too much. When you said like they're in the title race because it's like they play once a week, I agree with that, but it's also like, I feel like the reason why they're in the title race is because they win the big game. So it's like, for example, when they play Inter, it's not as if it ends 1-1 and both teams gain a point. No, when Milan played Inter, thank you for the 3 points. You're holding 0. When they played Napoli, thank you for the 3 points. You're holding 0. Bologna, Roma, and I think, like I've always said, if Milan can just start beating 50% of the smaller teams that they're dropping points to, of course, football is not that linear. Like, it's not as simple as that. But they would be in the running for it. And I still feel like from now to the end of the season, there is a lot to happen. And I feel like the opportunity is there. Like, the door is open for the Scudetto, but it's like you need some consistency.
Yes. And health is a huge part of it too, because people like to highlight how much Napoli have had injuries this year, Matt, and we see this all the time. And Haj, you'll know the same thing. Like, nobody was giving us a bone when Pioli and those sides that were competing for the title had injury after injury after injury. And like, even this year, everybody went on international break. We're playing once a week. Rabiot got hurt. Yashadi obviously had his injury. Then all of a sudden, Santi Menez's ankle is so bad that he has to have surgery, and you don't see him till March. Fulkrug, even he comes in. He still broke. He broke his toe when he's playing. He literally said it. They had a picture of him with his sandal right outside it with the media at San Siro. Credit to Inter too, because Kivu, this isn't much of a drop off. I thought Inter's transfer market is highly, highly underrated this year, and the amount of depth that they added coming off the bench, especially in attack with guys like Boni and Esposito, are incredible upgrades compared to Arnautovic and what Taremi were doing last season. So I think that's the biggest swing for me. Hakan is injured. They play Arsenal today. I think they their second match remaining in the Champions League is against Dortmund. This like sort of window and patch of like the next few weeks is going to ultimately tell, is Inter able to separate, or Milan able to keep pace, and so on and so forth. Because Napoli have not been playing well. Their injuries still matter. They're trying to advance to the next stages of the Champions League. It's not a guarantee that they do. So all that stuff to me is kind of up in the air, and we might see Noah Lang and I think Luca might be going to Forest. I don't really know. It'd be a terrible move for them. I don't know why they're interested. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. Craziest part is, Matt, I'll let you hop in first and then Haj. Like, how are they managing? Like, Pulisic is still, like, Pulisic and Rafa, none of which have been healthy. I can't even remember the last time that they both played a full 90 minutes that you're like, okay, this guy looks like he's at 100% or even at 95%. every single time we watch the both of them, even this past match, you're like, are they okay? Like, are they hanging on by like strings? Because Pulisic does not look like himself at all, in my opinion. He's been great tactically and putting himself in the great positions to score and convert. He's had an amazing conversion rate. But Matt, like this sort of, I mean, it's great to see Nkunku do better as well. But my kind of point is, like, can they keep surviving that way with the injuries? Like, the play, I think, will be there if healthy, but I'm not sure that they could handle this, right?
I mean, it's difficult to say because every single time we've thought that, oh, surely they can't overcome this injury or that injury. You know, they don't have another center back. They don't have another attacking player to bring off the bench. You know, the Torino game where they were down and they bring into Pulisic with a fever, and that's the only guy literally they had on the bench that was an attacking player. And you see what their bench looks like in some of these games. And I almost have a joke with myself because, I mean, recent weeks they've gotten some guys back, right? Nkunku, Pulisic, right? They've been readily available. But in some of those games you're looking at, they got like 7, 8 guys off the bench, and like 2 of them or 3 of them are goalkeepers and a backup defender and a Dogu who has no point of even really being there. He doesn't even touch the pitch. So it's like you're going into these games and you're thinking like, how is Allegri on January 20th having this team like within sniffing distance of a Scudetto? And I think that there are very few managers in world football today that can be doing what Allegri's doing with this Milan. I think that you would look at a lot of the managers that require so many different things. For all the great things that Conte could bring from a motivational side, you know damn well he'd be looking at this team with all these injuries and maybe coming in very thin and thinking, oh, I can't do anything with this. Come to the media, make it a huge issue. Allegri's like, next guy, like, we're not speaking on the market. He knows how to handle the media. He brings the next guy out there for the next game and he does a job. It could be like an average job. It could be a decent shift. But like Milan are somehow finding ways to just sort of stay in this Scudetto race when, in my opinion, when you look at how this team was assembled, it was pretty incomplete. And you also had many players at the very beginning of the season either underperforming or not even there to be selected. So I think it's a testament to everything Allegri has done with this team. And I think it really just goes to show you, to, you know, Haji, your point at the top, like some of these games have been grueling to watch. We know that. But I think there's something simply to be said about getting results and winning. This is a results-based business sport. And I know all sports are like that. But to have so many moving parts in and out, having to do so much work with this team to get it from an 8th place team to a team that is in the Scudetto conversation with 21 matches unbeaten. I think people need to give Allegri more credit than they maybe are giving him, because I see people are making the jokes and they're having a laugh about, oh, the type of football. And I'm like, give me another manager that's coming into this Milan and doing better than what he's done. Give it to me. Give me a name. You're telling me Conte is coming into this Milan and having them playing much better than they currently are? Maybe, without it being an issue in the media and how
bro, he would have been fired before the season even
look at last year. They wouldn't even last year when they lost to Verona, I think a first match day. He was like, no, we need to get this. The market wasn't complete.
Well, that's why they didn't hire him in the first place, right, Haj? Because they don't want that headache, because they know the status quo is you have to follow the way we're running this club right now under the Redbird and Furlani direction. Which kind of goes into hand of like something that you kind of brought up, actually, which we'll get to in a second. But just like, yeah, I mean, do you think Allegri deserves more credit? Because I know like he could be so frustrating in the way the sport is played these days. And, you know, there's more Fabregas commentary on how he likes the way the game to be played. And, you know, Allegri can be viewed as antiquated on the European stage, I would say, for sure. But in terms of Serie A and how you have to win matches against certain sides, I mean, he just keeps getting it done. And I think it's also unfair because the players that he has requested, he's really only gotten one. And that was Rabiot. And Rabiot is arguably the most valuable player on this team, or one of. And it's like, okay, he finally gets someone like Füllkrug, and Matt and I had discussed that. Like, look what happens when he finally gets somebody that thinks that could fit his profile and identity of his squad. And lo and behold, he's the reason why they won against Lecce. So, yeah, I mean, and stylistically, Milan likely can get away with it, but next year, once European football comes back around, it could be a bit of an issue. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, this level of play, for the most part, I know you get a little tired of it, but I mean, this is still good enough in your opinion for year one.
I think with Allegri is just suffering from the fact that so many people have like an image of him. So it's like, I'll be honest, I'm a culprit of it. Like when Allegri got announced, it's crazy because a month prior to that, when I saw the links, I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, what is going on over here, please? But then it's like, when he came in, I was like, sweet, like, let's see what he's about. I liked the preseason, but I just feel like with Allegri, it's like, whenever people just see the so-called Allegri 1-0, yep, Allegri ball. But I'm like, bro, Lecce wasn't really Allegri ball because it genuinely could have been 5.
Yeah.
It genuinely could have been 6. Just because it's 1-0 doesn't mean anything. Like, don't get me wrong. 3 days prior, Como, let's be real, I test Como were better statistically.
Oh, yeah.
Como were better. But Milan had 4 shots and they scored 3 goals. And let's be real, the team that secures the 3 points is the team that puts the ball into the back of the net more than the opposition. And that's what Milan done. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of examples this season where Napoli have won. They haven't played great, but it's just they were far more clinical. Juve, far more clinical. Inter, far more clinical. It's just like you're not going to get champagne football 38 games a season. And I just feel like with Milan, it's like when they win 1-0, everybody just runs to the Allegri, he's pragmatic. It's 1-0 and park the bus. But I've sat down and watched every single game, and there have been games where I'm like, you know what, bro? Like you've coached a 3-0, but like. For example, the game against Fiorentina, where like I was
just going to bring that one up, and Genoa too, same thing.
The game against Fiorentina, where it's like they drew, and it's like everybody's like, yeah, like they scored towards the end and everything, they could have easily lost. And I'm like, bro, on another day, 25 minutes into the game, Fulkrug's got himself 2 assists.
The game's done and dusted 25 minutes in. Like,
yeah, done, bro. And the thing is, you now like force Fiorentina to actually try come out and play because, of course, they're playing at home. It could have 4, then it could have been 5. Like you can capitalize on the space and the fact that they push everybody forwards, but you can't always blame a coach when like some players are genuinely scuffing their lines. And my final point is the reason why I respect what Allegri's done this season is because when he got appointed, I was like, there's no way in hell you do 3-5-2 because I looked at the squad, I looked at the way it was constructed, I looked at the best players in the team, and I was like, "There's no way in hell you're playing Leao."
Like with 3 center backs, the same center backs we had last year. Like,
yeah. So I was like, there's no way in hell you do this, yeah. And it's like they're winning games. Like I'll be honest, we can all agree that I don't think Leao's been fully fit the entire season, but he's on 6 goals. I think like 2 or 3 assists. Pulisic is on 8 goals, and I don't think he's been fully fit this entire season. And I remember at the start of the season when Conte, like seeing as we were touching on Napoli. Now, Conte at Napoli, he started to play some players out of position. He got nothing out of them. But everybody like sat down and was like, "Oh, it's because of this and it's because of that." So why is it when Allegri's playing players out of position and it works, there's no credit for it? Because I love Leao, but I want to be completely honest, I prefer Leao out wide on the wing. Yeah. But chipping in with goals, like the game against Genoa, fair enough, he wasn't great, but when the one opportunity presented itself and it was like, Leao, go be decisive, put the ball into the back of the net. Yeah. So you have to credit Allegri for that.
So, 2 things on that. Yeah, like on the layout part, and this was something I tweeted out because me and Martino, we were like, we saw the same tweet come out, and we were both thinking the same thing. Like, all right, I got to react to this. I got to put out some sort of video, and he beat me to it. I was like, I was just about to create that video on Leao, right? Because it was, the performance wasn't good enough for Leao. He needs to do more, right? Because in that game when he scored, that was the big criticism of him, right? He's like, he wasn't really running at players. He wasn't doing this. He wasn't doing that. But he took the chance and he scored. And even Allegri said it, like, I have him in a position up front to score goals. If you score goals, you did your job, in my opinion, right? Yeah. It used to be a conversation with Leao where numbers-wise, he could do so much more because we would all watch the games. And how he would absolutely take over a game. He would dribble by 2 guys, 3 guys, square a ball into the box. Nobody would be there, or they would fluff their attempt, right? He needs to do more. He needs to score more goals. So which way do you want it? The guy that's in a striker position now, not out wide, that is getting you more goals and is pretty much in line to score as many goals as he has in some of his best seasons at Milan. I think his highest was 15 a couple years ago.
In the league, yeah.
In the league. So it's like, again, which way do you want it? The guy's playing injured. For crying out loud, even before we went live here, there were reports saying that he was the only guy that showed up to training of the uninjured. Like, nobody showed up. They gave the team the day off, and he's there. And people are going to probably somehow spin it in a way to make it negative. So again, like, I think that the faith that Allegri's put into a guy like Leao and Pulisic, they're saying, hey, I don't have a typical producing striker right now, but I like what you two bring enough that I think you can do it, and I think you can manage it. I mean, January 20th, those two players are amongst Serie A's top scorers, and they're not conventional strikers. And on your first point, when people say Cortomuso and it's Allegri ball is boring and it sucks and it's this and it's grueling, it can be. But to say that this team doesn't create enough chances is silly.
They're second in goals per game. They're second in goals scored, and everybody's been hurt in attack.
But even earlier in the season, Santi before his injury was leading Serie A in most big chances missed.
Correct.
And in order to miss a big chance, you have to create a big chance.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're creating that many chances for a striker and he's not getting goals and you're winning 1-0, oh, Cortomuso. No, the game could be 4-0. Like, what are we doing here? Watch the game. Get off the score, watch the actual games. Some of them have been bad, but he's not 1-0ing every single game where we have 1 or 2 attempts to score. We're just not converting. So Krug is the answer.
100%. And that kind of like goes into the transfer market a little bit. They did act quick on Krug.
Yeah.
Whatever, if it's an easy deal, it's a loan with an option for $5 million.
Yeah.
Concede the credit. That's fine. And they've been creating. And we knew Nkunku took forever just to get into match fitness, outside of adapting to the league for the amount of money that it cost. Pulisic has not been healthy. We have known that basically since the first international break of this season, I believe. And he was just nursing a hamstring injury. It's why he didn't even start against Como. Allegri rather use him in different instances. Leao just eclipsed 1,000 minutes in the league. And again, all those minutes are not equal, right, guys? Because he's coming off the bench in that. Even if he's starting, he's not playing a full 90 minutes. So to me, it's just very funny how that goes. With the goal creation. And again, to what Matt's point is, like Santi Jimenez, it was 7 big chances missed. That is incredible for a striker. And everybody likes to highlight the goal that he scored against Lecce and the Coppa Italia. It was like, bro, you even almost missed the goal.
7 big chances, Martino, too, and he's been out since November.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And he's still like kind of middle of the pack in the league for chances missed if you go and look at it. So like the conversion rates are insane to me. There were a couple instances in which I do blame Allegri, and I think we would all know it would probably be that match against Parma where Stupinian was on there. But to me, sometimes too, it's sort of like you want to get angry at a manager for zonal marking. And Haj, I know you've discussed this before, and I mentioned it on the goal that they conceded against Como, right? It's like Fofana and Bartesaghi could not communicate to each other. How is that the manager's fault? You were both professionals. The one thing that I will get on Allegri for, and I know you were alluding to it before, Haj, is Fofana keeps on playing when he probably shouldn't be. And he's getting a lot of leash in terms of, the ability, you got to play him, you got to do it. He's good off ball. And like Loftus-Cheek, he has this love affair with him because of Loftus-Cheek is the perfect example of like the idea of the player is better than what he actually is, right? He's such a dynamic athlete. He is not the greatest technical ability, but how many times do we see him scuff headers that he should be finishing, or at least getting a decent head onto the ball? Just not happening often enough. But I think when you see a performance from Yashadi and Ricci like they did against Lecce, that is sort of like, okay, Allegri, what is your excuse now? You've seen these players play very well in the positions that you were sitting them for in favor of Fofana and in favor of Loftus-Cheek. I think they just got to listen to him at this point. And the topic of the transfer market here is something that you brought up in like the DMs before we went live. Like, I still will bang on the drum. It is not enough defensively. You cannot have 4 center backs. I don't care if you're playing once a week. You cannot have 4 center backs. I'm not counting Odogu in this because he's a child as far as I'm concerned. You cannot have that when you're rotating 3 center backs. We already had to see Bartesaghi play as a left center back in formation on one occasion because Pavlovic was out. Like, I don't know what their options are, but they got to get another center back, in your opinion, if it's possible. I know Coppola's probably been the only one linked so far that has kind of concrete links.
I think that was shot down by a couple people.
Was
too.
it? Because I saw it like floated out again if it got reported, but
and then the guy from Sassuolo, the Indonesian center back, I think that's more of an idea for June, they said.
Yeah. So Haj, like, are you in favor of they have to get a center back this January, or you're of the belief that they're probably just going to do nothing? And that's my guess.
Like, to be fair, we're on the 20th of Jan, so there's less than 2 weeks. If there was an area that they wanted to strengthen, I reckon they would have gone out and wrapped it up as quick as they got full wrapped up. And I know there's a lot of players out there available, but I think where the problem is, you play a back three formation, and you've only really got, like, let's just say 4 seasoned pros. Like besides the kid that was signed from the Bundesliga, there's only about 4 of them that are, like, shall we say, experienced, ready to lead the line. Are they even ready? But the problem is, your formation practically uses 75% of your defensive players because you play 3 and you've got 4. So, like, for example, the minute Pavlovic got injured, I'm seeing De Winter, who's never played as a left-sided centre-back, have to slot in as a left-sided centre-back because it's not as if there's a natural left-sided centre-back. I can't remember the game, but Batsagi played as a left-sided centre-back with Estupinian alongside of him. So it touches back on Allegri, where it's like, I feel like the way the squad was constructed, like, some of the recruits were nice. I really like Yashari. I really like Richie. And I feel like they are definitely players for the future. But I think defensively, don't get me wrong, I think all 3 of them have done great. Like, I think Pavlovic has improved a lot this season. Tomori, I've always liked. Gabbia, I had question marks over. But this season, like, he served me humble pie. And I've just had to sit down and accept it. But my biggest concern is, I always say this, I'm like, guys, at the moment, 1 game a week, just Serie A. It's not, but I don't want to be going into the Champions League next season, and I'm seeing, I don't know, Milan get drawn up against Atletico Madrid, and they have to go Wanda Metropolitano, and I'm seeing Pavlovic out there, and I'm seeing, like, I think they need a bit more steel defensively, like somebody that's actually like a top defender, and I feel like you can see it across the Serie A. Like, for example, the impact Bremer has.
It's incredible.
He's made Lloyd Kelly look competent, or somebody like Akanji. Akanji's making Bisek look great. Bisek was on the chopping board. And I just feel like they need that big, I wouldn't say big name, but it's just somebody that's seasoned that can walk in.
Exactly. That is how many times do I say that?
Well, you know,
can we just like go, like, if we're willing to, this is what gets me annoyed about the recruitment in the market. Sorry to cut you off, Matt. But, like, last year, they know they were in deep shit in missing Europe. And they didn't hesitate to spend money and throw and sign guys in January that I have never seen that happen before, especially at this club in the recent years, where they were just like Santi Jimenez, João Felix, Sotil, this guy, that guy. And it's like, whoa. Like, how do we even know that Conceição's staying 6 months from now? And he ended up not. And that's the point too, is that, okay, say your budget is 60, 70 million. You make the Champions League. You get money for Alex Jimenez and whatever other sales are finalized that were like loans with obligations or options. And then you sit there saying to yourself, okay, we have a couple holes within our squad. Let's go and get another profile similar to like De Winter and Odogu, where, to your point, Haj, and which I agree so wholeheartedly with, go and spend 35 to 40 million on a proven real center back. And my guess, it'll be someone like Mario Gila for free. I think in June is what he's.
Not without an actual fight from Lotito, though, obviously.
And I don't know if his contract expires then. I don't dislike it, but that should be at least the bare minimum. It should be Gila and another center back, because again, the condensed schedule. We've already seen them have injuries playing once a week, bro. We know how this club works. They start playing like 60 games a season. They're gonna have to get more depth at that center back position. I'm not even sure how much of a leap Odogu could even take. Do you prefer like the change in direction for the way they approach the transfer market, where it's not just 20 million here for a good, decent player like De Winter that could eventually become someone really good, or we go in, it might be a large chunk of what our budget is, but we know we get a proven star defender in the league. What kind of approach do you think that they should take regarding that?
Who's answering?
Yeah, Haj. Sorry if I didn't clarify. My fault.
No, I completely agree. I just feel like with Milan, it's like I don't know what the budget is every summer, but it's like, let's just say,
Nobody does.
for example, it's 100 mil. I feel like they milk the 100 mil, where it's like, okay, we need to split it by 5 and bring in 5 players of the price of 20 million, because let's be real, it looks nice. Like every single week, oh, here we go, Fabrizio Romano, Milan have signed another player. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to see when clubs sign players, but it's like sometimes I look at it and I'm like, you know what? Just go and get one, I don't know, 60 mil attacker, and just go and get 2 20 million players, because that 60 mil attacker will walk in and hit the ground running straight away. And even though I'll be real, like when they signed Nkunku, it came out of nowhere. I just woke up one day and saw Nkunku, Milan, 40 million, here we go. And I was like, where on God's earth did this come out of? But with Nkunku, I was just like, so don't get me wrong, financially, I know about Milan. I know they've got bread. I know they have cash. I know they generate cash. But I'm just like, so if you're happy to pay 40 million for Nkunku, couldn't you have just signed? Like, trust me, I'm not a scout. I don't have the facilities that some of these scouts at Milan have. I can get you a top center half for 30 million. And he walks in and just revolutionizes that entire back line. But I think it's just more of an overall problem with the Serie A, where it's like everybody's going down the whole money ball formula, where it's like, let's get him for 15, and you never know. In 18 months' time, 24 months' time, we can flip him for 60. What amazing business. But that's when we start focusing on the finances of football. Like, we all become temporary accountants, but we don't sit down and watch football to see this kid blossom. And the minute he becomes something, he gets sold, and now let's go back to the bottom of the ladder and start once again. Like, sometimes I look at a team and say, it just needs seasoned pros, dudes that walk in, hit the ground running, because that's what's going to help you climb the ladder as quick as possible.
Yeah, I said this about the center back. I did a video about this a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking, big picture, right? And just on your previous point regarding, Milan are in a really good spot to get Champions League at the minimum this year. We all know that, but like, thinking big picture here, it's like, do you look at any one of these starting center backs that have taken pretty exponential leaps this season under Allegri? Like, they've at least revitalized parts of their career. Like, Tomori looked like he was on the outs. This time last year, Juventus wanted him. They were trying to shove him out. Tottenham wanted him. Like, look, he was done at Milan, and now he wants to renew and he wants to stay. So big ups to him for providing a lot and proving that he can be here. But then you look at this entire group and you're thinking, like, yeah, is this really like the group we're going to go with and be like, yeah, this is our back three going away against Madrid, Liverpool, Arsenal, like City, like that type of competition. And even not even just the high up end. Like, we're talking like levels to Champions League football, where it's like, bro, it doesn't have to be City. It can be a really quality team from Germany that all of a sudden it's like, bro, they're just leaps and bounds ahead of the typical teams you see on a regular basis in Serie A. And we've been saying this a couple years ago, Hajj. Like, they had a window a couple seasons ago where now it was a matter of, hey, we have the framework, we have the general
foundation
skeleton of a very competitive team, right? You looked at every single area of this team, you're like, you got a goalkeeper, you got some top center backs, you got a really good strong midfield, you had Teo, Leao, Pulisic. Now is when you go and get that next grade of player, someone who's 30 to 40 million. When we talked about it, Buongiorno, like, I know he's been banged up, but like 30 to 40 million for a premium center back that probably starts for Italy, or someone of that caliber to help raise the overall bar. Because I look at this defense and I think, while it has improved, there really is no anchor in that back three that you feel like is going to elevate the entire group and usher them in those difficult Champions League.
They haven't had a defender in the conversation or clearly establishing himself as the best center back in Serie A since Thiago Silva. It has been that long. We really look through it, like, Gabbia put in good shifts and stretches, right? And even then it's like, okay, Kier, you could argue, probably the best center back of the past 6 years, a peak in the league. The stretches of like Kalulu and Tomori, when they were really good, when they won the title, but no one ever sat there and said to themselves, yeah, we're good for at least the next 5 years. That has never been a thought entering my mind. It still doesn't, even when they're playing decent defense. To me, it's just sort of like, we have pretty good players there. No one that we say, like, Teo's in conversation for best of the world. Leao's at least in the conversation for top 6, left wing, whatever you want to do, like whatever the conversation is. Never have I thought it since Thiago Silva left, where I was like, I feel so good about the center backs
Yeah.
that we have. I still don't. And that's a huge problem because a guy like Calafiori, for example, I know Juve whiffed on him. I don't really know if, like, say Milan offered 50 million to Bologna and Calafiori has 2 offers on the table. It's Milan or it's Arsenal. Who he would pick. I don't know truthfully, but the fact that they're not even at the table to entertain an offer for that is very embarrassing to me because he was clearly exactly what they needed. Left foot center back, Italian, can move and progress the ball forward, more of that modern center back, and can also
As a
play
left back too.
yeah, exactly. And we're just sort of like, I don't know, man. Maybe Gabbia. And they got lucky with Gabbia, by the way. We got so lucky that the guy just even turned out to be relatively
And that he actually wanted to come back to Milan after they kind of threw him away to Villarreal, right?
Like, he doesn't get a concussion, he probably doesn't return. Or they had the injury crisis, he probably doesn't return.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. So that's kind of it. I on the transfer market because we're kind of going here just a little bit more. So final topic of the day, gents. Milan Roma. This one's tough for both sides. So listen, Roma getting Daniel Malin in. He looked incredible against Torino. I'm not sure if either of you had watched it. I think Hajj, you might have had a video on it. I forget. Instantly, I like the fit for them because Malin, although, yeah, sure, not the most dynamic of athletes, especially in the Prem, he will stand out in Serie A. And his technical ability was always good, even back at his days at Dortmund. I always enjoyed watching him. Good fit for Gasperini's system. They are a very odd side. They have yet to draw a match in all of Serie A. They either win or lose. They've had a very strong defense in terms of goal prevention, which is uncharacteristic of Gasperini. And this isn't, they have talented defenders, but no one that you're like, oh my goodness, like that's clearly one of the better ones. They're playing European football this week. Excuse me. They've had a bit of a condensed schedule because they also played Torino twice. I think, and I know the predictions will come later, this is a primed draw for this match. For Milan, this is huge. Roma obviously haven't really had a signature win this year against the top side, which is clearly pressing them for not only Champions League qualifications, if they still had hopes of the Scudetto or outside chance, they have to win a game like this. There is pressure there. I'm just curious as to how Roma play. Milan will be a problem for Milan, I think. We'll see what version of Dybala shows up. This right here is a huge, huge match for not only the Scudetto race, but for top 4. How are you viewing both sides entering this match, Haj? Because, Roma's just playing very well this year, but we all know in attack they're lacking. Maybe Milan is the answer for the short term for this season. How do you kind of see this one going out? Because this is huge. This is match of the weekend in the league, I think.
It's massive. I'll be honest with you. I'm happy you mentioned the whole European schedule because they've got Stuttgart. I'm not too sure if they're playing home or away, but Stuttgart will trouble them physically. They will drain them out. I believe the manager's called Sebastian Hoeneß.
So they'll be at home for this one. So you know.
They'll be at home, but the coach they're coming up against, the team they're coming up against, they're not gonna just sit back like Celtic and just take the 3-4-0 spanking, which they got. Roma will go into that game tired, fatigued. I don't think Gasperini is gonna rotate heavily for the Europa League. And I think, you know what it was? If they didn't have Marlon, I would have been Evan Ferguson is out. He's probably gonna dash Dybala false 9 and then put somebody like Pellegrini who's not really offering much. Marlon will definitely bring a layer of physicality, and he looked, oh my lord, he looked really amazing, good. Bro. I was watching, I was like, oh, there's hell no. You're not the dude that I was watching at Aston Villa. You look different, even though he's always been clinical. Yeah, I think this game is massive, mainly because you need to look at Inter's next 2 games. Inter's regardless of the Champions League, Inter's next 2 games are against. Sorry for the pronunciation. It's always a team that I never know how to pronounce it. Pronounce. It's Pizza. So they've got them, and then they've got Cremonese. That you see with Inter, that's food for them, bro. That's a full plate of food, and they will eat it. That's 3-0. That's 2-0 comfortably. Yeah. So I'm looking at Inter, and I'm saying that's guaranteed 6 points. Milan have got Roma and Bologna. Fair enough, they're both in European football, and I have said it. If you can't win, just don't lose. But the problem is, Roma, it's 0 to 100. It's either a defeat or it's a victory. And I'm looking at it, funnily enough, I don't think I predict the draw. I look at it and just think this might be, once again, prime time Allegri ball. This just might be sit back, catch them on one counter. Thank you very much. That's what I'm thinking.
I think too.
That's what happened in the last one, right?
Mhm.
I think the thing that, again, this comes with the territory of supporting a team ran and managed by Allegri, right? Like, I think you look at certain stretches of games and parts of the season, and that's where your tolerance and your threshold is so low for like the grinded games against some of these teams that you're like, man, come on, like we have no injuries, we haven't played in a week. Why can't we absolutely batter Pisa? Why can't we batter this team? But then you look at where these games are, and as a Milan fan, like if you're going into this thing thinking like, oh well, you know, I hope it's not another grueling game. I hope it is, and it results in a victory because it shows character, it shows DNA in these games. How many times in that Scudetto winning season did we the game against Verona, where I think it was, what was it? Florenzi had that great goal,
3-1, yeah.
Right, like sometimes it's not going to be sexy. Sometimes it's going to have to be a gritty goal pulled out of nowhere, and you beat the games and you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and you pass the buck back over to the teams around you. Say, hey, go match it on the next day. And I think that's like what I've really, really, truly embraced, especially in recent years where Milan have fallen on harder times, and we've known that results can be very difficult to come by against any team. You see Milan finish 8th last year, and you come into this season, and now you're complaining, not too content about some of the nature of these results. Give me the wins. Give me the wins. Because at the end of the season, if Milan are sitting there on the podium as champions, no one's going to say anything. Well, remember that one game you should have did this? They're going to be like, it's the mark of a strong-willed team, a team that has character. And there were a lot of ugly wins in that Scudetto winning season. So guys, I think like people have to, not you guys specifically, but like people every single game, it's like, oh yeah, Milan won, but we should have had 4 goals, and they make jokes about Allegri. And it's like, how do you want it? Like, do you want
isn't that what I said
with
right
like the Como way? Like, you want the Como way where you play better for 60 minutes, but you lose? Which one do you want?
Who gives a shit? Right?
You know,
like even the year we finished second to Inter, when Inter won their 20th. We were by some distance the second best team in the league, but we had so many matches in which we were horrendous in because, maybe we were playing well offensively. We were a really good offensive Milan side, but you knew they couldn't handle anything. There was a black hole in the center of the field with how their midfield was protecting the defense. And that's what I was trying to like tell people too. They had just finished 8th. And when they hired him, I said, I do not care. They need results. Who gives a shit about play style? Play style is for clubs, and even Real Madrid don't even play sexy. Everybody knows this, and I know it's a totally different circumstance, but how many times did we see those recent 2 Champions League winning sides play the greatest brand? Not even close. This brand ideology is, mentally poisoned a lot of people just because of who Pep Guardiola is. The majority of teams throughout history, and even the 21st century, do not play sexy. Please do not sit there and tell me that Jose Mourinho's sides were sexy football. They weren't. And I don't give a shit because, at the end of the day, it still is good football. If you, like Haj is a perfect example of this, break down the tactics of it all. You don't give the opponent too much. And this is what Allegri has done and exactly how they beat Roma the first go around, right, guys? There was a full-on assault for the first 15, 20 minutes where Roma had chance after chance after chance. They could not finish. And then lo and behold, Milan should have been 2 or 3-0 up. Fofana had the miss of the season. Bartezaghi had the great cross to him, and Fofana skied it. But it was all about Leao carrying the ball and dusting and embarrassing Roma's defense. And then I forget who scored in that one. I would have to go look it up. But they end up winning 1-0. And to me, it's sort of like, okay, half chances kind of created by these sides. Roma had some good opportunities, but they were never like, oh, bro, we should be down like 2-0 or whatever it is. A little similar to like what Atalanta was like, the Atalanta match, 1-1. Stupid goal to concede, but Atalanta were the better side for a very long period of time in that game. And I just think probably more confidence as it grows. Milan in these matches, I think to an extent they're playing with house money in terms of they don't have to kind of kick themselves in the ass if they end up losing one. Not because that, people are going to get upset regardless because of how the club is ran, but it's not the end of the world if they were to drop something, because the fact that they haven't lost since Cremonese is crazy. You have never seen a side go 20 unbeaten, and because some of the draws that they had were terrible, but you have never heard a squad that does this and gets the amount of shit that they do in the media or the coverage that they get and be like, oh, are they really good? Because it's the flirting versus harassment meme that everyone puts out. Conte does it 1 year. Oh my God, he's the greatest thing on earth. I love him. He's amazing. Allegri does it, and it's like, this guy's anti-football. He can't do this. He sucks at this. And it's like so frustrating to me, because isn't this results-based? Isn't this exactly why even Xabi Alonso just got the axe and they were on pace for like 90 points? What at the end of the day, what do you care about? I don't give a shit if they win 1-0. They won. We're not going to remember what happened inside those 90 minutes 5 years from now. How many matches do you guys forget from the Scudetto winning season? I forgot half of them. You have to go back and watch highlights, but there were a lot of like little things that happened and like they should have won, or if they did this or they did that. I just know I'm rambling here, but it's just a tiresome topic for a side that has really performed, and they have not been healthy. And there's been way too much blame on the manager for things that he does not control. The match against Juve, guys, should they not have won? I mean, Pulisic skies a penalty. Rafa misses a chance or half chance. And it's just like, oh, well, this is Allegri ball. Allegri ball, realistically, if these individual players are not idiots, they're probably 5-6 points clear of Inter. Truthfully,
I mean,
they would be in first place right now.
13 points against smaller teams this year.
Right? The Cremonese thing is one thing, but like even the matches in which they're up, like the Pisa, Parma, never, ever, ever should be draws. Ever. You're up against those sides, especially the Parma one is, I think, probably the worst of the season. But it's like you see a Stupinian on these plays, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how is that the manager's fault? I just have a hard time doing that. So, final thoughts on this match, by the way, after my rambling. Apologies, but we'll just go to a prediction.
Yeah, we can go to prediction. I think we'll allow Hajj to stop, I guess.
Our humbled guest, Hajj. Prediction for Milan Roma. If you want to give a goal scorer, you're more than welcome to. Usually do so. But what do you think happens here? Do Milan win another big match, and do Roma lose another big match? Or is it a first-time draw for the Wolves?
You see, the problem with predictions, you have to like remove sometimes that inner bias. Sometimes I feel I think Stadio Olimpico is very, very, very difficult. Like, oh my Lord, when it's the big games, that place is rocking. That place is different. You don't want to go there. I've always been banging on this season, and a lot of times people would call me out on it, and they're like, Hajj, like you always say, 1 game a week, Milan should be flourishing. And I always respond, guys, there's gonna come just that 1 week or just a 2-week period where Milan will pick up 6 points. And it's because they were fortunate enough to play 1 week. And let's be real, last season, the Scudetto ended on 1 point difference. So I don't know what it is. I just feel like Roma playing on Thursday, and they have played a lot of games recently. And I think Hermoso went off injured as well.
Yes.
He's massive for them.
Yeah, he's been playing well.
Do you know what it is? If Milan can get the first goal, I'll bet my house. I will genuinely bet my house. If Milan get the first goal, I'll bet my house. The problem is, there's been this little tendency recently where it's like they'll go into games in second gear, and it's like they need to concede just to wake up. And the problem is, when you wake up against Roma are equally as good defensively. So, I don't know. I think it's not going to be high scoring. I don't think it's going to be like the most high scoring of games. I don't want to predict a draw because I just feel like a draw is like, it takes the excitement away from it.
I understand.
Got it. 1-0. 1-0 Milan. Who scores? I don't know. Gabbia.
Okay, so he finally gets a headed goal. Matt, how do you see this one playing out? You've had good predictions this year. You're doing well.
I know. I actually think this can potentially be high scoring given the nature of Gasperini, the way he likes to play, how this Roma team have looked this year. I think they've actually created and drummed up more chances. And I think they've just been really lacking that presence up front that can be consistent for them. And I think Milan really helps them, and we saw it on the weekend. I think that Milan are going to win this 2-1. And I think the big factor in this is that this is going to be the perfect game, or one of the better games to see Leao Pulisic start, because I think against Lecce, it wasn't ideal because of the way Lecce like to play. But in a game like this, what do we all know about Pulisic and Leao as far as what they enjoy, right? They want that space. Milan wants to be end-to-end. They want the game to be a little bit open. They could run in behind. I think that there's a real possibility that the game is open enough for these two players to absolutely be devastating. And I think that this is the type of game where even if they don't get the goals, I think that that's when you bring on a Füllkrug, and I think Füllkrug can kind of slow the game down, be like that Giroud type in some of those games during that Scudetto winning year, where he's taking the ball in, he's absorbing contact, he's winning fouls, slowing the game down, taking the air out of the ball, and Milan get out of there with a gritty character building win. And I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to go 2-1.
Okay, 2-1. Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite of what Hajj likes. I just see a draw happening. I think Roma are just due for this.
There's some variety here. I like that, at least. Like it's
yeah, to me, I just I don't particularly trust Milan at the moment. And that's not really surprising for most people who listen to me. I just don't see the full health of the squad right now. For the attack that I feel comfortable of them hitting on a counter. Especially with the way Rafa has looked. Pulisic, I'm not really sure. I don't even think he might start in this one. I'd be very surprised. Salamakers' absence is a very strong possibility of this, which is a huge drop-off. It's one of the bigger drop-offs I think Milan have at a position in this squad, is that right wing-back role, where it's Salamakers off to Afekame, who is not suited for that. Realistically, I am curious to see who they would put in that sort of role. Does it end up being a 3-4-3 where that wide player in the 4 ends up being another midfielder, and they go with that extra midfielder if Salamakers isn't ready to go? I could see something of like a Bartezaghi, Rabiot, Modric, and whoever else. That's just what makes it difficult. And I think ultimately what it comes down to is that, Roma are tired and they're at home, and it's just going to be a gritty game. So I think a 1-1 game, probably another penalty. There's always a penalty in this matchup. So wouldn't shock me with that. We'll let Matt come on back. But Haj, we're winding on down here, and your connection got infinitely better in the second half of the podcast. So hopefully people stuck through to go see that. Give everybody all the information about your channel and everything that you do. Obviously, if we're collabing on this video, everybody will know at this point in time, but just future stuff that you have that people might get excited for, what other content that they could be looking forward to, because I know your content on TikTok sometimes is a little bit different than what you do here on YouTube. So give the full lowdown for the folks.
Ooh, put me on the spot. TikTok is a crazy app, I'll be honest. If you want to grow on TikTok, you have to go against your morals sometimes. You have to go against your
bro, people were upset about your Pio Esposito and Holland hold-up play comment, which I totally understood where you were coming from. I was like, yo, they're going to roast this guy just because he's just like slightly critical of Holland. But I was like, I get him. I see the vision, but
Yeah, that's TikTok. TikTok is a crazy app, but I ain't even gonna promote my TikTok on here, unless you want just some over-the-top hot takes. But when it comes to my channel, it's just a general Serie channel, like cover the big teams, cover them in depth, react to some breaking news. I promise you guys, the majority of the content is Milan and Juve, but we've already explained why that is the case, because I know it pisses off a lot of people, but that's just what it is. So if you're ever interested in like a Milan reaction, maybe like some tactical analysis, breakdowns, where Allegri's getting it right, where Allegri's getting it wrong. Of course, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just my opinion on it. Yeah. And recently we've integrated some nice intros. So
yes,
before Serie catches me, you might as well go and enjoy them.
Yes. Hopefully they don't. Guys, go like, subscribe, support. Check out all of his other content that you have seen. Obviously, a good shout out to Sharma. So we're finally glad to listen to some of our subscribers and get somebody that hasn't really been, you know, I guess like I don't know how you could say it, like recently met on the internet. So just been great. We really appreciate the conversation. Sorry it was a headache with all the tech, but we made it through and you look great now in the second half of this. No longer frozen. Santangelo, you're still cranking out all the stuff. You were slowly learning and you are adjusting. You make that Pavlovich leap this year on Instagram. So any other cool new ideas coming out soon that you had?
No, I just appreciate all the support on Instagram. I know, like to Hodge's point, like TikTok, Instagram, like I've only really been like predominantly on Twitter. Like that's where I've had such my ascent over the years, and like I've gotten like a good following there. So like to do it on like all these other platforms, it's like you're catering to an entirely different audience. Like there's people like the millennials that are just on like TikTok. It's like, I could see them being like the 10-year-olds who just started watching football and they're like, Holland's this, what are you talking about? You don't know football. Like, so it's been great to be on Instagram, but it's also been great to have a lot of people like follow us from this podcast to our Instagram and help us grow. I think we're like what, 700 plus followers on Instagram, Martino now?
I don't know. I really don't even check the following count on that. But I think we're close on that. I'll look right now. 700 on the dot. There you go.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Appreciate all the support there.
Yes, support has been good there. It's been pretty good on Instagram, but I think, sometimes with Milan and Hajj, I'm sure you've seen this, is that sometimes people just don't want to fucking listen, and they just don't. They want to bury the club as far away as possible. I appreciate all the support as well. I highly appreciate all the people who came and defended us, and some of the people who were complaining about the fact that we have ads on our channel. God forbid you supported and saw us have success that we now have ads. Sorry. That we pay for everything out of pocket and all the content is free. Apologies for that.
That's crazy.
I can't stand comments like that, but I appreciate everybody that supported and backed us up on it because they know we make things free on purpose. And also shout out to the other people who understood the premise of my recent short, which I thought was very important in regards to Milan's cap and the salaries that they hand out. And one of the last final points that I want to make, again, with adjusted inflation, Hajj, I'm not sure if you saw this or even Matt.
I saw
Mike Maignan, current Mike Magnan's contract compared to what Daniele Bonera was getting paid in 2012-13. If you inflated both contracts to be the same value in present day, Mike Maignan only gets 1,000 more euro per season. That's what the salaries were for Milan back then. Pato, Robinho, and Mexis were all making the same amount of money as Rafael Leao, if not more.
Yeah, they were making.
And that just, again, that was 13 years ago. That was the money they were willing to shell out. That's the difference now. It is a staunch difference. And I'm just saying, if you think that Milan don't have money, yes, they do. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Check out Hajj's channel. Please like, subscribe, everything. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.